Jerry versus Roger taking a turn this afternoon with news that NFL PR released. A 5-year extension for Roger Goodell is close, which would mean through 2024. That while reports that Jerry Jones is threatening a lawsuit to block. Frank Isola, let's start there. Do you think that is legitimate, a lawsuit?
I don't really think it is. What I do believe is that Jerry Jones, not only does he think that the Dallas Cowboys are bigger than Jacksonville or maybe Tennessee or Arizona, he thinks the Cowboys are bigger than the NFL. This is all the backlash to what's going on with Ezekiel Elliott. He's not even on the compensation committee, and he wants to have a word there. It seems like this is going to get done, but I would say this. It's not the craziest thing at this point, maybe to change the leadership at the top in the NFL.
But do you think Jerry would be acting from self-interest here? That's what I think you're hinting at with Ezekiel Elliott. Or do you think he's got other owners with him, maybe not 1/3, which is what would be necessary?
Yeah, the reports are that he might have 4 or 5 owners that agree with him, but it sounds like he's going a little rogue here. And this is about Jerry Jones flexing his muscles. I run the Cowboys. We are the NFL.
Clinton Yates, is that how you see it?
Yeah, and this is a really bad look going forward. I mean, if you're getting lawyers that are involved with Harvey Weinstein involved, not exactly what kind of name the NFL wants associated with it. Not to mention, look, if you're worried about what the league has been under Goodell, why don't you worry about concussions and people not watching the game because nobody is interested in the product? It has nothing to do with Ezekiel Elliott necessarily. It has to do with what football is at its core at this point.
Israel Gutierrez, your view of it?
Yeah, I actually do think that you can justify the legitimacy of the lawsuit. If you say to yourself, okay, Roger Goodell had been lauded for what? For his decision-making or the CBA talks, right? The CBA discussions. He was very good there. And so in 2021, we've got another one coming. And so maybe we could say, hey, Roger Goodell could still be good at that. Or you could say he's botched everything in between. He's lost a lot of respect. And there's been a threat of a work stoppage in 2021 from the players union. So Roger Goodell probably won't be as good. So if you judge him based on the failures that he has had so far, the alleged failures, perceived failures, then yes, I could see absolutely an idea of moving on. The problem with Jerry Jones is, as you mentioned, Tony, it seems all based on his own self-interest. And there are enough owners out there, at least according to reports, that believe that if he is given the power to get Roger out, or the owners allow Roger out, then yeah, he's going to have his own replacement. He's going to be way too powerful in this league, and you're talking about picking between 2 evils. And right now, I'd probably say Roger Goodell is the lesser of 2 evils if you consider the idea of Jerry Jones essentially running the whole league.
What I'm hearing then, we have 2 questions here. Do you think it's legitimate for Jerry to try to block Sarah? And also, would a change at commissioner be good for the league?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's legitimate grounds for a lawsuit. He might be doing what he's been doing this past half season or so, which is to say that he wants him out and to try to appeal to other owners that he hasn't handled major issues like domestic violence, CTE, protests during the anthem correctly. That's not grounds for a lawsuit, though. There has been given permission to the compensation committee that they have the power within their own committee to approve a re-upping of his contract, and they seem very close to doing that. The problem with what Jerry Jones is doing is not only is he going rogue for his own benefit because it's now affecting Ezekiel Elliott, while all the other owners have watched him sit back and be okay with it when it was happening in other cities. But also, when you sue the NFL, which is what he's threatening to do by bringing in boys, you're suing the other owners. So not only is he taking it into his own hands to fight this battle against Goodell for his own interests, but he's trying to take it out against other owners. This has already been an incredibly litigious season for the NFL. This is a terrible look for them. And if you're another owner that believes that Goodell at least will work well in the CBA or at least is worth renewing, not only are you not on board with Jerry Jones and trying to replace him, but you're certainly not on board with him bringing even more bad PR to the league by going off on his own fight because of Ezekiel Elliott.
If it is about Ezekiel Elliott, that's one thing, right? And if it's how players are punished, that's another thing. But it's also the phrase you hear bandied about is negative economic impact, because that's the impact of TV ratings, the impact of the protests, the Papa John's gambit, whatever Jones might be playing off there. How much of that falls at the feet of Goodell, do you think, Israel?
I don't think that much of it does. I mean, look, in terms of what the ratings are and the loss of money, you could pinpoint that on any number of things. It's very convenient to pinpoint it on the protests that are happening during the anthem. But I do think that if you sort of make a change here, if you make a sweeping change at the top, then you're saying that none of that was working. You need to sort of clear the deck and start over. I think Roger Goodell is still trying to prove that his way is and will be working. It's just there's other factors throwing in here, like the protests, which, again, have taken overall the headline.
Sarah, you want to answer that? The downturn, the NFL scene over the last 8 years, I think, is where you kind of cut it off. How much is that at the feet of Goodell?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. We've all liked to sit back and say, oh, well, they've made tons of money under Goodell, but anybody could have done that. It's a great product. Now that it's not doing as well, all the blame is going to Goodell. Domestic violence, concussions, and CTE, protests during the anthem, these are not easy things to handle. The idea that anybody else would be in there and these would not be problems is foolhardy. And so I guess the question is, do you feel like you know somebody that can come in, take the bullets for you, do the CBA, and handle these major issues that are problematic on much larger levels than just the NFL? I don't know if they know someone.
Well, I also think that these owners are hearing from their fans and the sponsors about the protests during the anthem, and they want it to fall on Goodell, and they're wondering why haven't you done anything? We're still in year 2 of this, and we're the ones that are catching a lot of heat. I think that's what bothers the owners the most.
We've been Horn. We'll move on. Let's talk football. An actual game. Tonight, Seahawks at Cardinals. Viewing this from the Seattle side, the secret of the ooze side. They had 4 straight wins versus the easiest schedule statistically in the NFL going into last week. Then they lost at home to Washington. Now they're on the short week, Sarah. Who are these Seahawks, and what do you need to see from them tonight?
I think the Seahawks are like a lot of other teams in the NFL. They're good, but not great. The great is so limited, and the bad is pretty big. And then there's this middle chunk, and I think they're in it. The issue for them is if they lose tonight and the Rams win, the Rams take a 2-game lead. And they do have a head-to-head later in the season that they can try to make up some of that. But the Rams just beat the Cardinals 33-0. If you can't beat the Cardinals, then what are you going to do when you get to the playoffs? So this feels like a must-win in that right now they're still able to not control their fate, because nobody controls their fate. If destiny's really controlling it, then you don't control it at all. But they're able to at least make a big difference in what their future looks like now. If they wait too long and it comes down to them sitting at home and watching 2 other teams decide whether they're going to make a wild card or make a postseason, that's not a good look for them.
What was that whole bit you went on there? That destiny is controlling fate?
If it's destiny or fate, then you don't have control in it. So when we say teams have destiny in their hands, no, they don't. Nobody has destiny in their hands.
Yes, all right. I'm with you there. Meanwhile, you do have the secret of the ooze background behind you. I guess you've got the Seahawks tonight. Gutierrez, how about you?
Oh, man, look, the one thing I would say about the Seahawks is I'm not too worried about them early in the season. Now, this isn't still early in the season, but if you look at the Football Power Index, FBI, they have a 48% chance of still winning their division, okay, despite the fact that, going into this game, if they lose and the Rams win, as Sarah said, they're 2 games back. But I do think this team just gets better as the season goes along. The biggest problem to me is there are 2 areas of concern, or primary areas of concern, is their running game. Russell Wilson's their leading rusher, and their rush defense. They're 24th in the league in rush defense. They were way higher than that last year. So those aren't normally the problems, and so maybe because it's a different set of problems, I don't have the faith that Seattle can recover, but I'm not really calling this a must-win. I do think they'll be playing their best football.
Why? How about you?
Well, beyond the fact that their run game is so bad, look, I mean, they've only got 2 touchdowns on the ground so far this year, and they're the most penalized team in the league, which is a big problem when you're trying to figure out whether or not you're any good. That win against my Skins, as much as I liked it, was pretty fluky considering how poorly Washington played in the first half. I think this team is going to win this game, but overall, I don't think this squad is all that great.
That win against Washington. Washington won the game.
I meant to say the Skins win. My bad.
Okay. Make sure you're watching the end of the game when they give you the score. I saw the last word for you.
But they're still a mentally tough team. They're still well coached. This is a team that, if you go back to Week 7 of the 2015 season, is 10-0 following a loss. So they know how to recover quickly, even with just 3 days off. So I'm expecting a lot more from the Seahawks. No Earl Thomas tonight, which is big, but come on. They're facing Drew Stanton. I think the Seahawks know how to take care of business, and it's not a must-win. They still get the Rams in their building.
Right.
December
Sarah
3rd.
had said that earlier, but then there's the whole transitive property because they're playing the Cardinals, who the Rams just beat 33-0 last week. Okay. Everybody has Seattle tonight? That's what I'm sensing from your answers.
Yes.
Just yell it out. Israel, you're thinking it over.
Yeah,
Fly, Seahawks, fly.
We'll move on. Frank, this next one's your jurisdiction. If 2 Giants players are saying anonymously, Ben McAdoo has lost the team, as Christina Anderson reported, and 2 others in name, Landon Collins and Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, are saying that's not true, he still has the team, who do you believe?
I was fully expecting the anonymous players to say, you know what, I looked in the mirror, and this is on me. I'm not performing well enough. But we know that this is a complete mess right now in New York. The proof will be in the pudding this weekend. They go to San Francisco. If the New York Giants, after giving up 51 points at home, go on the road and lose to the 49ers, then all bets are off. But I think the big issue is that they allowed Odell Beckham to kind of get away with a lot of stuff. They didn't penalize him. Then they started suspending other players. I think that's where the disconnect is.
Right.
In the locker room.
Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie is one of those players who was suspended. Now he's the named player in the second report. What do you make of that, Clinton?
That's complete disarray, as I've referred to. That's why I don't understand this at all. If the guy who was the first one out is suddenly saying that he actually believes the team hasn't gone, what is happening here? I mean, you know how I feel about this team and McAdoo. I don't think anything has changed. I think it's only gotten worse, and the product on the field has shown as much.
Gutierrez?
Yeah, it's just the way I think players look at things differently. I think you might have the more veteran players that say, you know what, we're doing this, we're putting our bodies on the line. Don't put it all on the head coach. Bust your butt out there and see how good we can be. And then there's other players, probably usually the younger ones, where they're just saying, like, why do I have to make up for my head coach's mistakes? Like, why can't I have a better head coach that doesn't make us go 80% on Saturdays and expects us to be 100% on Sundays when we play? So I totally understand both sides of it. But for the betterment of the team, you probably want to take the vets approach, the Collins approach, and say, listen, forget the coach. We'll let the management deal with that. We play our butts off, see what happens.
Sarah Spain.
Yeah, I believe both sides, which is to say that when you have a locker room that big, there are probably guys that are on board with the coach and there are probably guys that aren't. The difference is that if you are going to put your name to a statement like that, you're probably coming out and openly speaking on behalf of the coach and the way things are, because it's not a good look to come out and tear apart the locker room, say guys aren't trying, and rip apart your coach unless you're doing it anonymously, which is why you can believe both sides and you can say he's probably out either way, but there's likely some discord in that locker room between guys who believe and guys who don't.
Frank, let's go.
I also think you look around the locker room, in every losing NFL team, you could find two guys anonymously that are going to say the coach has lost the locker room. Let me hear Eli Manning, Jason Pierre-Paul, Landon Collins say
all right.
it. Then I'll
Although
believe.
you said it, if San Francisco's this week, if they lose that game, that's the game.
That's right.
But they just came off a bye week and let up 51 at home. Why wouldn't that be the game? Why wouldn't when they were 1-6, when they were 1-5? Well, this
Nine
team
is
made the
terrible.
playoffs
They have to
last
win
year. I
that
don't
game.
think we can forget that. All right, we're taking a break right here. Buy or sell next. 2 minutes.
Around the Horn is brought to you by Infinity. Empower the drive.
Let's get it yourself.
Atlanta Journal-Constitution reporting today there's a strong likelihood that 3 UCLA basketball players, LiAngelo Ball, Jalen Hill, Cody Riley, arrested Tuesday for shoplifting in China, will face 20 days of house arrest served in the hotel, and then not permitted to visit the country of China again. Sarah, your thoughts?
Yeah, it doesn't sound that serious when you consider prison time. You say 20 days of house arrest in a nice hotel, but I am not presently banned from any countries, which I'm thankful for, and I think it would be really upsetting, especially at that young of an age, and especially considering China's role in global basketball and you know, shoe deals and everything else, to imagine that you might never be able to set foot there again. Imminently embarrassing.
Israel Gutierrez?
Yeah, the part that got me was thinking back to LeVar Ball saying it wasn't a big deal, and yet these guys got off lightly according to what normally happens in that country, and it's still this, which is more than no deal. Like, you're banned from a country and you're at basically house arrest in a foreign land for 20 days. That is hopefully something that might humble LeVar Ball, but I'm pretty sure he will just sort of compartmentalize and leave this and say, oh, it's a China thing, and I'm going to still be me the rest of everywhere else.
Clinton Yates?
Yeah, but this is still college basketball, and on some level there's got to be a leadership component that's at play here. I'm not really happy with how this has been done by the UCLA coaches. What are you doing here? I remember when Georgetown went out there a couple years ago and got into that huge brawl. This is what college teams do now. If you can't even get your team together to stay organized, that is not a good look for university. UCLA, what's going on?
Frank Isola.
Yeah, this one Shanghai moment for UCLA was embarrassing for them, embarrassing for the NCAA. They shouldn't be over there. And I'll tell you what, for LiAngelo Ball, they got off lightly. Think about for him. He's got his mother over there, his father, his brother. His mom is in a wheelchair, and you're behaving like this. They're not hardened criminals, but clearly those 3 kids are knuckleheads for doing what they did.
We'll move on. Buy or sell too, Greg Popovich saying Kawhi Leonard is coming along more slowly than expected. They don't know when he'll be back from his right quadriceps injury. Big deal, little deal, or no deal, Israel?
I think it's a little deal, and not so much in terms of like longevity or his career, because it's a knee issue. But yeah, if the rehab process is going along slower, then maybe there's more injury involved. Maybe there's something else to look into. I do think the Spurs can be really good without him because Greg Popovich, and they've got a good bunch of players. But you need your superstar. 7-4 right now. They're okay, but they can't go too much longer without Kawhi.
Gates?
If Le Vieux Mec Tony Parker is healing faster than that guy, you have a big issue on your hands. The Spurs almost always have everything go right for them. This is a huge deal, in my opinion. I'd be worried if I was a Spurs fan.
Isola?
18 straight years the Spurs have won at least 50 games. I think that's in jeopardy. If you tell me that Kawhi Leonard is going to be okay by February, then I'm all right with it. But now, I'm a little concerned.
Spain.
Yeah, usually what I say is we don't have enough information, and setbacks are setbacks. Everything's going to be fine. But I got burned on Andrew Luck because I repeatedly said this is all going to be okay, and now we see what happened there. I think there is some room for concern when there's a vagueness about how the injury started, and now there's a vagueness about how long he's going to be out.
And I'm reading quad tendon is the injury, Israel. You said knee. Is there anything I'm missing here? Is there anything you're hearing?
No, it's just all connected.
It is all connected.
Yeah, kinetic
all
chain.
connected
Yeah,
to the quad.
thigh bone.
Cute then. We'll move on. Sarah, this next one, your account. Bulls.
Oh, boy.
Bobby Portis is back from suspension for punching out his teammate, Nikola Mirotic. He had 21-13 in his first 24 minutes of the season. Mirotic, you'll recall, said it's either him or me going forward. And according to Joe Cowley of the Sun-Times, multiple anonymous Bulls players are with Portis. What's this about and what happens now, Sarah?
Man, this is confusing because, listen, I think people are being too hard on Mirotic. They're calling him soft. The guy's got a broken face, a concussion. He's out for weeks due to a teammate, okay? And I understand that they were both involved in this fracas, and he was throwing punches as well, and Bobby just landed the big one. But for the teammates to be on side of Portis while Mirotic is sitting in a hospital unable to play should not be the deciding factor for the Bulls when they're going forward. They need to decide, first of all, which guy is the better player, and was Mirotic who won the starting spot before this all happened. And secondly, which guy's going to be a good influence on the rest of the team. It should not be based on the one or two guys that Joe Cowley gets to talk to him.
Israel Gutierrez?
I mean, to me, it should be an easy decision. I mean, neither of these two guys are that valuable where you just say, no, I'm going to hang on to him no matter what. I personally would get rid of the guy who cheap shot at a teammate. That's all I'm saying. Nikola Mirotic has done more things for the Chicago Bulls in the past. Not much, but more things for the Chicago Bulls. In my opinion, I'm with Nikola. Like, I think they deserve to have his back.
Mirotic did go at Portis, though, right? That was the reporting, Sarah? That was the reporting initially. While it was Portis who had the punch.
We haven't been privy to the video, but they both were going
went
at
in
it.
first. Okay. Clinton Yates knowing that and hearing that there's some anonymous players again who are with one side. Where are you?
Yeah, I mean, and if reports are true that Mirotic isn't even answering Portis' text messages, first of all, that's a little Bush League. And secondarily, if you're going to put it up to the players to pick who they want to keep, you're picking the guy who won the fight. This is basic math. Come on, guys. You've been in the locker room.
Frank Isola.
Clinton, if you break my face, no offense, I'm not answering your text if you try to reach out to me. If I'm the Bulls, I'm going out. Whoever I can get the most for in a deal, whether it's Mirotic or Bobby Portis, that's who I'm going to trade.
So that's how you're going. Not that it would be who was right, who was wrong in the fight, but who you can get the most in return for, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Gutierrez, Yates, 17-18. That's usually enough to get you into the showdown. What's on your mind?
Good luck, Clinton, on your audition for the next Brawny Man, by the way. Good
He's a lumberjack. He's okay.
Why were you ready for that joke? I really don't understand. Spain, Isola. Isola next. Sarah Spain, Frank Isola in showdown. Good luck to you both. Showdown 1, the Detroit Pistons. They might actually be good for 538. They're 8-3. They're the 2 seed in the East right now. They have 4 wins that are double-digit comebacks. Sarah, you believe in these Pistons?
It's too early to tell. The last time the Pistons had a start this hot, they did end up in the playoffs, but they finished sub 500. So not only do too many teams make the playoffs, but it is way too early for us to say whether they're for real.
I like what they did during the offseason, bringing in Avery Bradley, Andre Drummond, actually making free throws, except for last night when he went 0 for 7. They're starting to win. They'll be a playoff team. They need people to start coming to their downtown arena. Now they have a winning record.
That's absolutely true, right? Every time you see it, there's empty seats. Thanks for the answer, which was Drummond's making free throws, and then thanks for telling us he was 0 for yesterday. So you're not getting the point. Frank, point Spain. Showdown 2, the Toy Hall of Fame. The class of 2017. Wiffle ball, paper airplane, and Clue. Those that didn't get enough votes, also interesting. Risk, Transformers, Magic 8 Ball, My Little Pony, Pez Dispenser, and Sand did not get in, Frank. Powers that be get this right?
Well, I'll tell you what, the Magic 8 Ball is kind of like the Susan Lucci of toys. I don't know how it's not in yet, but wiffle ball, absolutely. Everybody loves to play it, and you know, you always have that one friend who thinks he's Phil Necro trying to throw curveballs and ends up hitting you right in the head, and that ball can hurt. but it belongs in the Hall of Fame. Absolutely.
Listen, I did a little bit of research on this, and best I can tell, this started in '98, and it took him to 2008 to put the ball in, which has been a toy for hundreds of years. I don't know what it did in the last couple of years to suddenly be deserving of entry, but I'll tell you what, it made me angry. Flames from the side of
my face. That's a great
I want to hear it with a dodgeball.
Clue. Best movie ever.
1 + 2 + 2 + 1 for Spain. Isola, Negro threw the knuckleball, not curveballs, and the
Well, that's
Magic
what I
8
meant.
Ball.
I
You
meant-
think the Magic 8 Ball knew it wasn't getting in?
Knuckleball.
That's the
Yeah,
question I would
sure.
ask.
Yes.
Space time, going to Spade.
So Auburn head coach Bruce Pearl told his basketball team today not to worry about his job security, despite an ESPN report that his refusal to cooperate with an internal investigation into his connection to that FBI probe that started in September might lead to his dismissal. This is a guy who has had issues at every stop along the way. People love him. He's been an employee here at ESPN. The problem for Bruce is not that he keeps breaking the rules.